page 70. Page 70.
Good and how pleasant it is for all of us to be together this morning. So many members of our community joining together to celebrate Shabbat, to participate in Avodah Shebalev, in the worship of the heart, and Kriyat HaTorah, chanting from the sacred text that connects us to the past and gives our present meaning. We're so very fortunate also this morning to have with us from Israel our very special guest, Anat Hoffman. And of course, on the piano, Shai Kedmi. And of course, on the other side of the bima, Rabbi Meir Feldman. And from Jerusalem, Rabbi Tara Feldman. And all of you. It's so wonderful. All that's missing is the herring. That's an old synagogue joke. Anyways, take it away, Rabbi.
The hair, exactly. I'm just thinking how good and how pleasant it is that achim and achot, achiot, that we sit together. You know, last night we had a service, and in this very, Calvinistic, intentional way, we said that we framed it as a service of healing. It actually occurs to me, really, I think every service, every time we come together as Jews and pray together, the Hit Palel, it's really meant to be a service of healing. And, we teach our kids the opening paragraph of an essay and the closing sentence or paragraph in an essay. Like, the purpose of the open and the close is basically, in the event you sort of missed everything that came after the beginning and everything that preceded the very end, here's the point. And we open our service with Hine Matov. It's about brothers and sisters, strangers who are called to cultivate a sense of brotherhood, sisterhood with each other, sitting together. That's the very beginning of the service. And the way we return the Torah to the Ark, we'll do this in an hour or so, whenever it is. We say how all the ways of Torah are ne'im, pleasant, and all of her ways are peace, shalom. So really, I think every service we offer, we participate in, we throw our hearts into, or put a toe into, is meant to be a service of healing. And so it's a blessing to be here with all of you all. It's a privilege for Anat Hoffman to join us, and I'm sure she's going to be really special for us. Let's turn to page 74 for Matovu.
Actually, we're going to turn to page 67.
67.
And we invite Martha Hirsch to
thank you,
open
yes.
our service.
Martha, yay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I entered this sacred space to voice the longings of my heart in prayer. In sacred company, I offer my love to the Holy One. I devote myself this morning to psalm, song, study, and prayer. May my heart be lifted, may my thoughts be deepened, and may my soul, like the eagle, soar.
Beautiful.
Shabbat
Thank you.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Martha. Thank you. May my heart be lifted. May my thoughts be just deepened. May your soul and all of our souls, like the eagle, soar. Beautiful. So we turn now to page 74, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov. 74.
Ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael, va'ani merov chasecha, ahavo v'techa, eshtacha ve'el heichal kodshecha, ve'yiratecha, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael, Adonai ahavti me'yon beitecha, u'mekom mishkan kvodecha, mishkan kvodecha, va'ani eshtachave, ve'echra, evrecha livnei Adonai, osi, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael. ואני תפילתי לך, אדוני את רצון. אלוהים ברוב חסדך, אלוהים ברוב חסדך, ענני באמת ישמעך. מה טוב, מה טוב, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael, mishkanotecha Yisrael.
Dear Rebecca, page 75.
May the one whose spirit is with us in every righteous deed be with all who work for the good of humanity and bear the burdens of others, and who give bread to the hungry, who clothe the naked and take the friendless into their homes. May the work of their hands endure, and may the seed they sow bring abundant harvest.
Wonderful. And now page 77. Dear Phil, the one who formed, page 77.
I unmuted. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life. Were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed
Thank you.
are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength.
Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. Thank you, Phil. Page 78, Elohai Neshama.
Neshama, neshama, shenatata bi, tehorahi, tehorahi, Elohai, Elohai, neshama, neshama, shenatata bi, tehorahi, tehorahi, atov echartara, Roseman Sheni.
My God, the soul you've given me is pure, you created, you shaped it. It's source of all creation, sovereign of all souls.
Baruch atah Adonai, asher beyado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol basari.
And we turn now to Nisim B'chol Yom, page 80. These blessings that we recite every morning, blessings that help us just create an attitude of gratitude, but all the little tiny things that work, even if there are some other things that don't work so well for us, all the tiny things that do work. So on page 80, we'll begin with the Hebrew formula and then go to the English and join in at home either the opening formula phrase or the English or the Amen, or just bring your voices in your souls. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. And now the English, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim, who
Amen.
opens the eyes of the blind.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef
Lifts up the
kefufim.
fallen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, 82, who stretches the earth over the waters.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, mitzadei
Strengthens our
gaver.
steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
Who gives
hanoten
strength to the
le'yaev
weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from the eyes and slumber from the eyelids. 84.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzelem
He
Elohim.
made us in the image of God. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me free.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
Who has
she'asani
made me a Jew.
Yisrael.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Israel with strength.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael betihifara.
Israel with splendor. Last 186. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Altogether, amen. And now we turn to Nina. Dear Nina, page 87, We, the Seekers of God.
We seekers of God, how do we find you? In good deeds and in study of Torah. And your search for us. You find us in the bending of the knee, in the rigor of study, in the honesty of commerce, through a good heart, through decency, in respect, true fellowship, companionship, and love, through truth and peace, in the no that is really no, and the yes that is really yes. Baruch atah Adonai hamla'amed Torah la'amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nina. And dear Gail, these are the things on page 88. Elu Devarim, page 88.
These are the things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all.
Thank you, Gail. Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. We have a wonderful, we know this well in our community with so many wonderful Torah study folks. We turn now to page 94 as we begin Psukei de Zimra, page 94, Baruch She'amar.
Baruch she'amar v'haya olam, baruch hu, baruch oseh v'reishit, baruch omer v'yoseh, baruch gozer umkayin, baruch merachem al haaretz, baruch merachem al habriot, baruch meshalem sachar tov l'reyav, baruch chai la'ad v'kayam lanetzach, baruch bodehu matzil, baruch shemo. בשבחור ובזמרות נגד לך, ונשבחך ונפרך ונזכיר, שמך ונמליך מלכנו אלוהינו, יחיד חיי העולמים, מלך משובח ומפואר עדי עד שמו הגדול, ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מחולל ותשבחות.
We turn now to page 97, offering Ashrei. You know, if any of you are looking to sort of increase your likelihood of the Olam Haba, I know we think about this all the time, many of us. How do we get into the world to come? The Talmud says that anyone who says Ashrei 3 times a day, guaranteed to get into the Olam Haba. It might be easier to get in the other way, which is to make 3 shiduchim, 3 matches, you know, partners together. I'm stuck at number 2 and frustrated at friends that have deprived me of number 3, but still trying. Anyway, Ashrei on page 97.
אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד יהללוך סלה.
אשרי עם שככה לו, אשרי עם שאדוני אלוהיו.
תהילה לדוד, ארומימך אלוהי המלך, ועברך שמך לעולם ועד.
בכל יום עברך והללה שמך לעולם ועד.
גדול אדוני מחולל מאוד, ולי גדולתו לאין חקר.
דור לדור ישבח מעשיך, וגבורותיך יגידו.
הדר כבוד הודיך, ודברי נפלאותיך עשיך.
וזוז נועתך יאמרו, גדולתך ספרנה.
זכר רבתך יביעו, וצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדל חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך וחסידיך יברכוך. 98.
כבוד מלכותך יאמרו וגבורתך ירברו.
להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו וכבוד אדם מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיני כל אליך יסברו ואתה נותן להם את אכלם בעיתו.
פותח את ידיך, open up your hands, ומשפיע לכל רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל השעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פי ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד. ואנחנו נברך יא מעתה ועד עולם. הללויה.
Page 100, Psalm 150.
הללויה. 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 כל הנשמה, כל הנשמה, תהלליה, תהלליה. כל הנשמה, תהלליה. Hallelujah, 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 el bekodsho, hallelujah, bekiyazo, hallelujah, begvulota, hallelujah, kerogulo. Shama te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama te hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Beteka shofar, hallelujah. Benevel vechinot, hallelujah. Betov umachor, hallelujah. Beminim ve'ugam. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama te hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Betzilzalei shama. Hallelujah, betzilzalei tuah. Kol hanshama te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. 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 Kol hanshama te hallelujah, hallelujah.
Kol neshama hallelujah. Let every soul sing the praise, the blessing, the beauty, the hope, the possibility of God and of life. Beautiful. We turn now to page 101, Nishmat Kol Chai.
Lai 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 nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha Adonai תברך את שמך, אדוני אלוהינו. אליי, 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 all things that live to God praise must give. Adonai El Eloheinu, nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha. Adonai Eloheinu, Elai, 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 Page 104. האל בתעצמו, בתעצומות עוזך, הגדול בכבוד שמך, הגיבור לנצח, והנורא בנורתך, המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא. שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו, וכתוב רעננו צדיקים באדוני, לישרים נאווה תהילה, בפי ישרים תתהלל, ודברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש. ובמקלות רביבות עמך בית ישראל, פרינה יתפאר שמך מלכנו, בכל דור ודור, ישתבח שמך ליד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, שיר ושבחה הלל וזמרה, עוז ממשלה נצח, גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת, קדושה מלכות, ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה. מלך אל חי העולמים.
106 חצי קדש.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דברך ירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן ביעלמה, ואמרו
Amen. Feel free to rise if you'd like for the Baruch Hu on page 108. Baruch Hu.
Lai, 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 lai. לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. לי לי
Page 110. In a moment, we'll come to you, Linda.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצר אור ובורא חושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל המאיר לארץ ולעדרים עליה ברחמים ובטובו מחדש בכל יום תמיד מעשה בראשית מה רבו מעשיך אדוני כולם בחוכמה עשית מלאה הארץ קנייניך תתברך אדוני אלוהינו על שבח מעשה ידיך ועל מאורי אור שעשית יפה ארוחה סלע. Take it away, Linda.
Or Hadash al Tzion Tayir B'nisker Hulanu Meira Leora. Or Hadash al Tzion Tayir B'nisker Hulanu Meira Leora. Or Hadash Al Tzion Tahir B'nizker Kulanu Meira Leora. Oh Hadash Al Tzion Tahir B'nizker Kulanu Meira Leora. Baruch atah Adonai Yotze HaMevorach.
Amen, amen. Awesome. Linda, years of morning minyan. Awesome. I love it. Thank you. We do. We turn to page 112. Ahava Rabbah.
Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Hemla Gedola Vitela Hamalta Aleinu Ba'avur Avoteinu Ve'imotenu Shebakhu Vecha Shebakhu Vecha Vat Lamden Chukei Chayim Kein Techonenu Udlamdenu Modelamdenu הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Erica, followed by Howard.
Followed by Erica.
Erica, are you there?
Oh.
Go for-
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Howard. Thank you, Erica.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am Ushivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'aderech, uvshachbecha uvkumecha, uvshnatam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, liman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, V'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Erica, thank you.
Amen. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, and with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you this day. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let these words guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. These words are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
Thank you so much, Erica and Howard. We turn now to 122, Michamocha.
הקומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדייכן ומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Please rise if you'd like to as we begin the Amidah on page 124.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול הגיבור והמורה, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וסופר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך מוסר מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 128. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשני עפר, מחמוך על גבורות ומדם מלח, מלך ממית ומחייך ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
130.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמתישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישענו, רחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד קולך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו מליבנו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל
take a moment for our own private personal prayer, and we will come back together in a few moments on page 142 with Sim Shalom and Oseh Shalom. The prayers on the page are the meditations of your heart.
If you concluded your private meditations, please join us for a plea for peace on page 140. Sim shalom, tova uvracha,
140.
ein v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, barcheinu, yotzreinu, kulanu ke'echad, ve'or panecha, ki va'or panecha netata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, sim shalom, tova uvracha, ein v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, torat chayim v'ahavat chesed, utzedaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, ein v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, v'tov בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שים שלום טובה וברכה בין בחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. Together let's sing at the bottom of page 142. עושה שלום במרומיו, יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו 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 ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
And now we're going to begin our Torah service. We're going to take the Torah from the Ark. We're on page 142.
Actually, hold on one second. We're on page 244. Ein kemocha va'elohim Adonai ve'ein kema'asecha malachotecha malachot kol olamim u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo yitein Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom הרחמים היטיבה מרצונך את ציון תבנה חומות ירושלים תבנה חומות ירושלים Page 246. Ki tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'devar Adonai b'Yerushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kahadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kahadosh Shemo. Gadolu Ladonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח והאור כי כל בשמיים ובארץ כי כל בשמיים ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה לימין נשא לכל ראש. All right. Chaverim, we are reading from the book of Shemot. Yes? Okay. And we have our first readers. They are our chanters. Okay, there we go. Oh, sure.
Okay.
Hang on 1 second. 1 second.
Okay.
Ready? Okay.
We
We're
need.
gonna call you up. We're gonna call you up.
Hold on, let's call it Yamdu.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Okay, Elliot and Judy.
Wants to do it again?
Elliot and Judy, no, you're up, aren't you? You're reading.
Okay. Good.
Oh,
No,
I'm
it was
sorry.
good.
No,
No.
Veronica's, forgive me. I apologize. Yeah, Liaz, you got, I apologize.
Amen. Ve'ele shemot bnei Yisrael habaim Mitzrayma et Yaakov ishu veito ba'u. Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zevulun, uBenyamin. Dan veNaftali, Gad veAsher.
Awesome. Pat. You're up, Pat. We can't hear you.
She's muted.
Yeah, Pat, start over if you started. I can't tell.
Tell her she's muted.
Pat, we don't hear you. You're muted.
Okay. Vayahi kol nefesh yetzei yarak Yaakov v'shivim nefesh ba'osef haya v'Mitzrayim.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Jen, still. Verse 6.
Vayamat Yosef v'chol echav v'chol hador hahu uvnei Yisrael paru vayishratzu vayarbu vayatmu bim'od ma'od vatimaleh haaretz otam vayakam melech chadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef. Vayomer el amo hine am bnei Yisrael rav atzum mimenu. Hava nitchak malo pen irbe v'haya ki tigrena milchama v'nosaf gam hu al sonenu v'nilcham banu bala min haaretz.
Beautifully done, all of you. Yosher Koach. And Elliot and Judy offer us the after blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
Wonderful. Thank you all a ton. Beautifully done, all of you.
Nice woman of the wall talit you're wearing, Judy.
Say it again, Tara.
I think Judy's wearing a women of the wall talit.
Of course. Who else has a woman of the wall talit? Anybody? Yay. All right. Erica, Sandy, I don't know. I'm sure there might have been others. I saw the two of you. Deb, great. Okay, awesome. Okay, the second aliyah. Dorothy, is your Hebrew name Devorah or no? I'm just saying that because my mom is.
I'm Devorah Mendela.
Okay, and Ed, what's your Hebrew name? Ed, what's your Hebrew name?
Isa Beryl.
I didn't hear you.
Isa Beryl. Ben Avraham Vitova.
I couldn't hear your first name, but because it's actually quiet. All right. Yamdu, Devora.
Bat Zelig Peshalea.
Okay. And Ed, say your Hebrew name one more time.
Isa Beryl Ben Avraham Vitova.
Lichvod HaTorah. Go for it. Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch
Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Marcy. Be sure to unmute yourself, Marcy.
I just did.
Okay, great, great.
Vayestimu alayef sarei misim laman anato b'siflotam. Vayiven arei miskanot lefaro et pitom ve'et Ramses. V'ka'asher yanu oto Kain yirbe v'chein yifrotz vayakutsu mitnei bnei Yisrael.
Awesome.
Vayavidu Mitzrayim et bnei Yisrael b'farech. Vayamaru et chayehem vayavoda kasha v'chomer uvilvenim uvachol avoda basadeh et kol avodatam asher avdu v'chem b'farech.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marcy. Faith. Verse 15, Faith is on 15.
So I have to confess that I studied the wrong portion. So I'm totally unprepared. I apologize. I didn't read the email clearly. And when Veronica read her portion, that was the portion I studied. So
I'm just thinking just read it here or okay, I'll do.
I have to leave it up to you.
I'll do these verses of faith. We'll figure out what to do with your verses you learned.
Okay.
Yeah. Is this what you're doing? Okay. What you got it? I can do it now. Okay, verse 15. Amen. Vayomer melech Mitzrayim. למילדות העבריות אשר שם האחת שפרה ושם השנית פועה ויאמר וילדכן את העבריות וראיתן על האבניים אם בן הוא Vahamiten oto imbat he vechaya. Which verse do we go to? 18, two more. Vatirena hamialdot et ha Elohim velo asu kasher diber alehen melech Mitzrayim Vatichayena et hayeladim. Last verse. Vayikra melech Mitzrayim lameyaldot. Vayomer lahen madua asiten adavar se vatichayena et hayeladim. Okay. Oh, and Beth, it's you. 19, verse 19.
Vatamarna hamladot el paro ki lo kanashim hamitzriot ha'ivriot ki hayot hena beterem tavo alehen hamyaledet vialadu vayetev Elohim yamladot Vayirav ha'am, vayatzmu mi'od. Vayehi ki yaru ham yaldot et ha'elohim, vayas lehem baitim. Vayatzav paro lechol amo lemor kol haben hayilot. Hayirah tashlihuhu v'chol haba techayu.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. And Dorothy and Ed, you have the Aliyah, the closing Aliyah.
Yes, there we go. Okay, ready, baby?
Yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay, beautiful. For the third Aliyah, we have Rochelle. You are the Olah, as they say. And then Cantor Adam is going to be our Baal Kriya, our Torah chanter. Okay, so Rochelle, you're up. Remember to
Baruch et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayelech ish mi beit Lavi, vayikach et bat Levi. Vatahar ha'isha vateled ben, vatere oto ki tohu, vatitzvenehu shalosh yarachim, velo yachla ha'or hatzvino, ותיקח לו תיבת גומה, ותחמרה וחמר, ובזפת, ותשם בה את הילד, ותשם בסוף על שפת היור, ותתצב אחותו מרחוק, לדעה מה יעשה לו, ותרד בת פרעה לרחוץ על היור, ונערותיה הולכות על יד היור, ותראה את התיבה בתוך הסוף, ותשלח את אמתה, ותיקחה, ותפתח ותראהו את הילד, והנה נער בוכה, ותחמול עליו, ותאמר מילד העברים זה, ותאמר אחותו אל בת פרעה האלך. וקראתי לך אישה מנקת מן העבריות, ותניק לך את הילד, ותאמר לה בת פרעה לכי, ותלך העלמה, ותקרא את שם הילד, ותאמר לה בת פרעה הליכי קחי את הילד הזה והניקיהו לי ואני אתן את שכרך ותיקח האישה הילד ותניקהו ויגדל הילד ותביאהו לבת פרעה ויהי לה לבן ותקרא שמו משה ותאמר כי מן המים משיתיהו.
Okay, Rochelle.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. All right. Wow. Mazel tov to all of our Torah readers, Rochelle and Beth and Marcy. Faith, you're gonna be on the next one. Jen and Pat and Veronica. It's wonderful to have you chanting Torah. It's an amazing thing. Veronica, special shout out to you, our councilwoman, and to our Olim, Olot. Many thanks, Elliot and Judy and Dorothy and Ed and Rochelle. Beautifully done for all of you. This is the first time we've tried to do, not the first time, but as a special Shabbat, we're trying to recreate these special Shabbat experiences that really had been quite special for the last couple of years. So we now are going to, great, Jordana, you are up next for prayer for our community, and we're on page 258. Jordana, yay.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction. And may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Thank you so much, Jordana. Your prayers mean a ton. All of the love and work and effort and intention and passion, energy that you bring to us, to Temple Beth-El and the Great Neck community. Our prayers are fulfilled through you, through your work and love and effort. Sandy and Stu. Stu, I've never thought of Stu as being short for student, but somehow accidentally it came out on my screen as student. But Stuart and Sandy Lubert.
Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness, untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, do not ignore your own kin.
If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand of evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness.
Thank you so much, Sandy and Stu, all that you do for our community as well. The ripples go very far and wide. We now, before we offer a prayer for Israel, we'll offer Misha Berach, a prayer for healing. So feel free to text in the names of loved ones, friends and loved ones in need of healing of mind and body and spirit. There's no doubt that as we gather our love, our energy, that makes a difference, and we have an impact, even through our thoughts, our prayers, our energy that we gather together for the sake of healing. 253.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu, מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Beautiful. We now ask Ellen Meyerson. Ellen, thank you to lead us first in the English of the prayer for Israel, and then Cantor Adam will lead us in Avinu Shebashamayim. We're on page 259, first with the English. Thank you, Ellen.
Shabbat Shalom. Prayers for the state of Israel. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fulfillment of joy for all who dwell here. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Ellen. Cantor Adam, Avinu Shebashamayim.
Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael vegohalo. Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael vegohalo. Barech, barech et medinat Yisrael, Reshit tzmichat geulateinu. Hagein aleha, be'avrach chasdecha, ufros aleha sukat shlomecha. Avinu, Avinu, shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael vegohalo. Avinu, Avinu, shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael vegohalo. Ushelach orecha v'amitecha l'rashei asareya ve'yoatzeya etaknem be'etzah tova etaknem be'etzah tova milvanecha. Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael vegohalo. Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael vegohalo. V'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam leyoshveya, v'nomar amen. Avinu, Avinu, shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael vegohalo. Avinu, Avinu, shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael vegohalo. hold on. Let's do, yeah. Hold on 1 second. Let me try this. All right. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. All right, and now that we've
No, what? It's fine. Okay, I think we're now ready for Tara for you to introduce our wonderful guest. How lucky we are.
Hi, everybody. You see, I have power even from across the ocean. I said, the service is running long. We have to get that Torah away quickly. So you did it. Well done. So, Anat, we are so glad that you're here with us. You've visited us so many times, probably never in the Zoom format, but it allows a kind of swiftness to the whole thing. So just reviewing a little bit about Anat Hoffman, some of the details many of us know, but it's good to say them. Since 2002, Anat has served as the executive director of IRAC, the Israel Religious Action Center, which is the public and legal advocacy arm of the movement for progressive Judaism in Israel, dedicated to promoting equality and justice and religious freedom. When she was younger, she excelled as a champion swimmer, and she continues to dive into very deep waters quite fearlessly. She graduated from UCLA in 1980, where she BA in psychology, and later really encountered Reform Judaism. And I think it really, her time in the US enables her to, I always feel like she gets us, that she can speak to us, even from an Israeli perspective. From 1988 to 2002, Anat Hoffman served on the Jerusalem City Council, representing the movements for civil rights and for peace. She is chair of the board and a founding member of Women of the Wall. Nashot HaKotel, has been arrested multiple times and more just for trying to pray with a full voice with the Sefer Torah at the Kotel. She's been defended by the Anti-Defamation League, among so many others, for these efforts. I'm in particular picturing her standing with Rabbi Aaron Pankin of blessed memory, bringing a Torah to the Kotel. And I'm also thinking of our colleague, Rabbi Chen Sfoni, an Israeli Reform rabbi, who said, you know, not everyone can be Anat. And that is so, so true. So you are really, you visited us many times. As I said, I can picture you sitting at our dining room table with Cantor Hest and Rabbi Marcus, maybe a decade ago. More recently, you were hosted by the Rosenzweigs. Anat Hoffman has walked the lazy river at Parkwood and come to a sisterhood pool party and been at biennials. She's really, in so many ways, just one of us, but brings Israel to us with all of its gritty reality and its potential. With courage and candor, you always remind us what matters most. So it's very poignant to have you here on Shabbat Shemot. And after a week that we have had in the US, which I think even heightens our sensitivity to the importance of your message. So enough of me. Anat Hoffman.
So shalom, can you hear me all right?
Very well.
Shalom, everybody, and thank you for the little glimpse of the congregation that I got this time. I hope the Rosenzweigs are here. Hi. And Tara, you don't seem to, you didn't get the manual or the notice. People do grow old. Have you heard of this notion of growing old? You look like you did 20 years ago. I'm gonna first share with you what shock this week has been for Israelis to watch what's happening in the Capitol building. Shocking and really quite amazed. And the big thing in the weekend papers in Israel is, can it happen here? And clearly the Knesset is gearing into very serious defense mode. Also the courts, and our prime minister resorts to rhetoric that when he says that there's a plot against him, that the three indictments in the courts that he is facing now are a plot by a gang of people in the Justice Department. These are quotes, and there is a fear that something similar may happen here. Just to sum up, Netanyahu is facing 3 indictments on fraud, on bribery, and on a breach of trust. If he is indicted on all 3, he can sit 19 years in prison. These are very serious charges. And no, I don't think there is a plot against him. I think there are people in the Justice Department that they looked at evidence. This is the week. If there's a word of the week, it's evidence. If there is no evidence, then people are free to go. And if there is evidence, they have to stand trial. And Netanyahu has to face a trial. I wanted to share with you some of the things we're doing even during this Corona time, which is quite challenging to us. We're 23 employees at the Israel Religious Action Center. Most of us are lawyers. We are in court 60 times a year. That's more than once a week. And we are still going to court, but now it's only the lawyers who can go. We used to go as, the whole staff would come to root for our team. Now, with the Corona, only the judge and 1 lawyer from every side. So, for example, the Supreme Court petition that we filed 15 years ago is about to be resolved, hopefully in the next few weeks. And that is the right of Reform and conservative rabbis in Israel to convert people to Judaism. We have won the case for you. Tara here and Meir and others can convert to Judaism. And if the convert comes to Israel, they will be recognized as a new immigrant and be listed in the Ministry of Interior as a Jew. But the same does not apply to Reform conservative rabbis in Israel. So if a convert goes to a congregation, let's say Bet Daniel in Tel Aviv, for 3 years and is ready to be converted and is part of that congregation, he needs to fly over to America and be converted by Tara, because Tara is recognized, but his own rabbi, Rabbi Meir Azari, is not recognized as someone who can convert in Israel. 15 years ago, we filed this petition, And the court has told the state that there'll be no more delays, that there will be a verdict. We believe the verdict will be in our favor. It goes against every legal grain for them to rule against us. And this will rock Israel. I know it sounds to you so trivial, but this can rock the coalition. If Reform and conservative rabbis will be allowed to convert in Israel. Just so you know, the Orthodox monopoly in Israel tells its public that if we would be allowed to convert, we are so light, Judaism light, we will convert on SMS, we will convert on in Zoom, we are not serious, and we will convert millions of people from all over the world, and the Jewish character of Israel will be destroyed. Let me just tell you that we are very serious about conversion in Israel, just as we are in the United States. People have to show serious interest and serious learning before they can become Jewish. However, just so you know, this month, 6,000 Bnei Menashe, a group of people from Africa, from a tribe that was lost, came to Israel and will be converted here in Israel by the Orthodoxy. And so are thousands of people from Ethiopia that are not Jewish now. They are discovered tribes that may be allowed here. So I'm just saying that we are not converting en masse. If anyone is, it's Orthodoxy at this point. We are dealing with another Supreme Court against IKEA. IKEA is a big company from Sweden. You have it in, I think you have it in America, right? Okay, so IKEA put out a catalog showing the different objects that they're selling. It's aimed at the ultra-Orthodox community. And in that catalog, you have to see it, it will crack you up. Only men and boys exist on the planet. And when they open the closet, in the closet, there are only men's clothing. Boys and men are next to the washing machine. Boys and men in the kitchen. Boys and men are making the beds. Well, that's not what happens in reality, but there are no women in the whole catalog. We found a few ultra-Orthodox women who find it offensive to show a world that erases them from existence, and we are suing IKEA. IKEA in Sweden wrote us back that they are washing their hands from this catalog. They found it offensive, and they cannot, even in Saudi Arabia, they're showing women in the catalog. They were shocked that this is happening in Israel. So we're suing the Israeli faction, and it's a class action suit. We're suing them for millions over this. Another Supreme Court is against the municipality of Jerusalem, my favorite. The municipality of Jerusalem during the Corona opened different venues, 20 beautiful, lovely venues all around town for people who wish to get married in a very small wedding outside in the beautiful weather that we're having. So they took 20 lovely places, they put a chuppah up and chairs, and anyone can apply. Well, when Reform, people who wanted to have a marriage done by a Reform rabbi applied, the municipality said, no, the venues are open only to those who marry through the Orthodox Rabbanut. We're suing a class action suit. We are representing gay couples, Reform couples, anyone who wishes to get married outside the Rabbanut. We're suing the municipality of Jerusalem for denying them access to these venues. I have just one point that I want to make sure you understand. You and us share a value. We believe that there is more than one way to be Jewish. What you had today is a beautiful Shabbat service, a Jewish Shabbat service. However, men and women both were on the bima. And as far as the Orthodox of Israel are concerned, this is not really a Shabbat service. They are entitled to their decision. The tragedy of Israel is that they have the keys to everything Jewish in Israel. In Israel, we have only one way to get married, only one way to get divorced. It's Orthodox. 25% of Israelis flee this country to get married abroad because they're not willing to get married in this way. There's only one way to get buried, only Orthodox. There are 320 cemeteries in Israel. Only 7 are open to non-Orthodox services. And so you realize they're very hard to come by. There's only one way to observe Shabbat. If you don't own a car, or if you don't have a driver's license for any reason, you are incarcerated at home on Shabbat. There's no public transportation. So basically, the state enforces people who are poor or don't have a car for some reason to be locked at home. We have only one day of vacation a week. I envy you more than I can say for your having a weekend. That tomorrow you will still have weekend. This and 31 flavors. Do you still have 31 flavors? Very good. I envy you that. We work on Sunday, so only Shabbat is the day you can visit your grandma in the hospital, or you can go to the beach with the family. And if you don't have public transportation, you cannot do that. So we are suing the state of Israel, representing people of special needs, young people who don't have a license, old people who don't have a license, poor people who don't have a car, ecology-minded people who don't want a car. We're talking about one of the largest coalitions we've ever represented, and we're demanding public transportation on Shabbat, to the hospitals, to the beach. Wow. We're not big on shopping, so we, as a religious movement ourselves, are not saying that the public transportation should be to the malls, but we do think people should have the right to go to a museum, visit a theater, be out of the house on Shabbat, the only day off. So we're basically saying there's more than one way to be Jewish, and we'd like Israelis to get this message. And Tara is right. Before I came to America, I didn't know there was another way to be Jewish. I was arrogant and quite uneducated. I used to say to fellow American Jews, "You are Jewish, I'm Israeli, I'm a different thing." This is so stupid. I can't even. But I did think it's the arrogance of Israelis. I really thought that there's nothing for me to learn. One of the treasures I came with from America is that I've learned that there is another way to be Jewish, that it fits my lifestyle and my beliefs, and that the Reform movement believes in social action and social change. And I'm honored to be running the legal and political arm that does exactly that. Think of it, we're the only religious movement in Israel with an elaborate civil rights organization fighting for the rights of others. May I remind you that we're in the IKEA case, we're representing ultra-Orthodox women. In the case against, we just now, there's an announcement that there'll be elections in Israel on the 23rd of March, again, 4th election in 2 years. We noticed in the past election that the Bedouins living in the unrecognized villages of the Negev have no way to vote. There are no polling stations in their villages, and they can't afford transportation to Beersheba, to Rahat, to places where there are polling stations. So we are representing the Bedouins now, and the government announced just this Thursday that they will give free transportation to all 50,000 Bedouins to get to their polling stations for free. And that we're representing Bedouins. There's not going to be a Reform synagogue in any of their villages. Why are we representing Bedouins? Because we're doing what's right. It's not right that they are not recognized. We are brothers and sisters with anyone who is unrecognized. Remember our rabbis? Unrecognized. Tara here cannot officiate in a wedding in Israel. How many weddings have you done, Tara, in your life?
Oh, in Israel. 0 in Israel.
No.
Zero in Israel. I don't know. Scores. And mayor's done hundreds. Yeah.
Okay, so here is a recognized rabbi that can perform weddings, and she cannot officiate in the wedding in Jerusalem. That is so unfair. So why am I talking to you about this and giving you indigestion on this lovely Shabbat? Because I think Israel is way too important to be left to the Israelis. It's a very important project. It's probably the most important historic Jewish project of our lifetime, to run a sovereign Jewish state using our Jewish values to navigate. It's a phenomenal challenge. And the argument we're having now is, what are the Jewish values that should navigate Israel? Are they racism, chauvinism, ethnocentrism, or are they equality and pluralism and tolerance? And if you have an opinion, I find that many Israelis would like to silence you, starting with the taxi driver taking you from Ben Gurion Airport to Tel Aviv. On the way, he will tell you, you don't tell us what to do. You just pay and shut up, because you didn't go to war. You don't send your children to the war. You don't pay taxes here. You pay up and shut up. I'd like to answer the taxi driver. You are part of the Jewish table where Jewish values are decided. No one can tell you you don't have a right to sit at the table and discuss what are the Jewish values that you believe in. Whether you send your children to the army, and just as a way of statistic, half Israelis don't send their children to the army. Half, 49% to be exact, in 2019. And it's growing. It will probably be around 47% in 2020. Half of the Israelis don't send their children to the army. I'm saying that because some of you actually think that 99% of us or whatever. No, the Arabs don't go to the army. The ultra-Orthodox don't go to the army. Anyone who's physically or mentally unfit does not go to the army. Orthodox girls don't go to the army. The list goes on. Half of us are not going to the army. But even if you don't send your children to the army, it's a joint project. I have much evidence to show you it's a joint project. If we have a fire on the Carmel, the state of Israel runs to you in synagogue and says, help us rebuild the Carmel. If we have a war, we for sure go to you and say to you, support the Israel Defense Forces. So when it behooves us and when it's convenient, we say to you, you are our pals, you are our brothers and sisters. Netanyahu says to you, I'm your prime minister. Okay. So if we are in it together, you have a say. And if Israel comes up with policies that go against the grain of your values, you have the right to holler. I'd say more, you have a duty to holler. I want you to holler. How do you holler? I would like Tara to put in the contact to Iraq. If you could put it up. Sign up to my newsletter. Every week I will upset you, but I'll make you laugh too, because I send a newsletter that has little vignettes about what we're doing. For example, what would happen with the conversion case? Wouldn't you like to know? Sign up to the newsletter and we will keep you informed. Now I'm dying to hear your Q&A because I have heard me before, and you will finish the service and Tara will, I'm under orders, and I'd love to hear what's on your mind. Argue with me, ask me questions. Don't worry about my feelings. I was the head of the opposition in the Jerusalem municipality. You can't even come up with something that will offend me. So just let's talk.
Thank you so much on that. Okay, we'll wind the service down. Please feel free to put any ideas in the chat, or we'll just, you can just raise your Zoom hand later after the service and we can have a bit of a dialogue. But first, we're gonna close out the service with Aleinu, I believe.
Exactly. Cancer, we ready?
We are ready. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוסף וראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחת האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, לגבור עלינו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים. If Shemo Echad.
As always, we remember loved ones before concluding. If you want to share the name of a loved one via chat, feel free to do so. We remember not buried yet, but passed this week, Rosalind Berger and Beatrice Goldenberg. Remember in the period of Shloshim, Dear Shai, Safta, Victoria Kedmi. Remember Esther Horgan, Rosalind Lemmer, Yaakov Reutman, and Jerry Tillis as well. Remember the Yortzeit, the following: William Adelberg, Robert Brown, Betty Rappaport, Janet Clark, Rose Convisar, Robert Corson, Harriet Corson, Karl Marx, Miriam Moore, Robert Moore, Nathan Finkelstein, Hannah Ginsberg, Cindy Grossman, Dolly Hart, Bill Halpern, Lynn Halpern, Dorothy Herzlich, Selma Hockman, Sylvia Jacobson, David Jick, Sidney Nauer, Emmanuel Levin, Bernard Perlman, Alex Prince, Mitchell Rosenson, Jules Siegel, Ada Sigmund, Milton Serkin, Isaac Shear, Jay Stevens, Arthur Susswine, Howard Teitel, Irving Walder, and Saul Wollner. May all of their names and lives be a blessing as we remember them in our hearts, and all those whose names we've added in the chat. Warner's Kaddish Tome is on 294. Yitgadal, Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma Divra Chirutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon V'yomechon Uv'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, V'agalav Yizman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Le'olam Olamei Maya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpoar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitalev V'yitalal Shemei D'Kudusha B'rechu La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata V'amiran B'yalma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Aseh Shalom B'imromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. And let us say one last time, Amen. Okay, a few quick announcements before we sing Yosef Shalom.
No.
Why not?
Oh, I wasn't sure. Oh, say shalom bimromav, oh ya say shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'yimeru amen.
It's actually, I really like that singing that at the end. I like it. I appreciate it, Cantor. Okay, some quick announcements. Then we'll do Kiddush and Motzi, Sharon and Phil, Adon Olam, and then Q&A. As Tara said, put in chat some questions for Anat. It'll be great. Don't be shy. She's tough and smart and sensitive and direct, all the above. So, and brilliant. Just saying. Okay. A few announcements. Next Friday night, our MLK service, 7 p.m. Just by the way, the possibility is that Congressman Clyburn from South Carolina, James Clyburn, he's the possible guest. Roger Tillett. Roger is connected, and as always, Roger brings us great guests. It's been a little busy, lots going on in the Capitol, as all of you well know, for the last day, week, month, year. So it's been hard to get confirmation from Congressman Clyburn, but we're hoping. In addition, Pastor Eric Stillwell from the lead pastor and minister from Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston will definitely speak with us, as will Blondell Gadsden. So it's going to be a wonderful night of messages. As Cantor has told us multiple times, the Afro-Semitic experience. Is going to bring some really wonderful music. And we will, of course, will be blessed by Nigel Gretton and his their music that they bring to us so many years in a row. Okay. I think we can, that next weekend, let's just say finish, I'm just going to do the MLK highlights, which begin on Friday night. And then there is on Sunday is, am I not seeing what our whole
Day of action.
day of action? Where is it? Why don't I see it here? Is it right in front of my face? The day of action, I don't know, what's my, Cantor, do you have that there in front of you?
No, but
Okay, well, forgive me.
I'm sure Jordana Levine can put the information in the chat for us.
All right, well, the Jordana is on Monday at what time? Am I wrong? Go. All right, I'll find it and put it in the text in the
There's
chat.
also a Brotherhood meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Right, the Brotherhood is Sunday, and then the day of action is Monday.
There's also
But I
Rosh
don't,
Chodesh, Sisterhood Rosh Chodesh.
right. Okay, well, forgive me. I have not the right announcement form, but
The MLK Day of Action is at 10:30, January 18th. I know Veronica Lurvy's been very involved in that. And that is available for children 12 years old through seniors in high school. So that's very important to know about. And Rosh Chodesh is on the 17th at 10. But let's get to the closing of the service and the Q&A while we have Anatska with us.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות וברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות וברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות וברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות וברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו. And now Sharon and Phil.
Okay, who first? Me.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
And Shabbat Shalom all.
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right. We'll conclude with Adon Olam, which can be found on page 321. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yetzer nivra v'yet nasa b'cheftzot
shilo le'achbira, veli reishit, veli tachlit, velo ha'oz ve'ha'misra, ve'hu eli, ve'chai go'ali, ve'tzorchev li be'yetzara, ve'hu nisi u'manos li, ve'nat kosi be'yom mekera, be'yado akid ruchi, be'yetishan be'ayha, be'imruchi ge'be'yati, Adonai li ve'lo ira. Shabbat Shalom.
So just the questions I was able to read, we're continuing with a little Q&A while we still have Anat. Thank you so much to everyone who participated and gave so much, made the service so rich. We can keep reading in the chat, but Anat, the questions that I noticed were a little more clarity on the conversion process. How does that work? How will the Supreme Court ultimately fall out on that? Another one was, is there an American arm of your efforts? I think I know the answer to that one, but I'll let you answer. Orthodox women, what are you doing for them, for the Palestinians, for Ethiopians, and ultra-Orthodox vaccinations? Do they need to get them? Okay, I'm sure there's more, and I'm sure you can hold all that in your head.
Yeah, these are wonderful questions, and thank you very much. And I get to see Judy and Elliot. I just got to. Hi, my friends. Really, what a wonderful time we had together. So how do I know what the Supreme Court will decide? Excellent question. You see, 15 years ago, when we first applied, the state stated that only Orthodox conversions done by the Rabbanut are going to be recognized by the Ministry of Interior for purposes of citizenship in Israel. Our chances of winning then were low, but we waited, and about 5 years ago, an ultra-Orthodox rabbi called Rabbi Karelitz started his own conversion school and system. And the Rabbanut, because he is even more Orthodox than them, were willing to accept his conversions, or very strict conversions, as Jews in Israel, which means that it is now possible to get converted by an agency outside the Rabbanut. Rabbi Karelitz is not part of the Rabbanut. Okay, we are too not part of the Rabbanut. There is no, from a legal perspective, even though he is more ultra-Orthodox than you, really more right-wing than Attila the Hun, he is in legal terms, same as us, another agent providing conversion services. And if his conversions are recognized, and they are, we are walking through a wide open door when we say, if he is, so are we. That's why we believe the court will decide in our favor. Otherwise, it's a luck that we many times don't know. How do we get to Orthodox women? It's not the right question. How do they get to us? They are calling us. We got used to in these past few years to their special intonation on the phone, and they're saying, Baruch Hashem sheyesh reformim. Thank God there are reform, and they're calling us, and they're passing our number from one to another. When did we become very famous among ultra-Orthodox women? When we won the case of sitting in the bus, in the back of the bus. We represented 26 Orthodox women who refused to sit in the back of the bus in a practice that went on for a good 10 years, that 2,500 rides every day. Women are to board on the back of the bus and sit in the back of the bus. Okay, we represented 26 Orthodox women. We won this case. Every bus in Israel has a sign over the exit, over the entrance, and over the driver saying anyone can sit anywhere they want. Anyone harassing a passenger about their seating arrangement is guilty of a crime. Sadly, we discovered that Israelis don't adhere to signs very well, and we had to sue 13 individual drivers who did not allow women to sit in the front after these drivers had to pay between 8 to 14,000 shekel in damages. Yes, this segregation on the buses ended. There's still some buses that are segregated, but really far in between. It's no longer 2,500 rides a day. We assess it at 200 rides a day. It's certainly not a phenomenon that's growing. After that, we won the El Al case. We represented an Orthodox woman who refused to move from her seat because an ultra-Orthodox man refused to sit next to her. Raise your hand if you've heard of such a thing. Okay, so here's what you have to do if this happens to you. You know, when the world resumes turning and we will fly again, if this happens to you on a plane, here is what you have to do. Usually it's social pressure. People sitting on the back in front of you saying, we're going to lose our window of opportunity. Why don't you move? He refuses to sit down. Why don't you move? It's people pressuring you. What you need to do is say, I will move. I just need to speak to the flight attendant. If the flight attendant says to you that you should move, by word or even by a gesture in her hand, it is worth $18,000. Am I very clear on this little thing? If you move because you were pressured by other people, I can't help you. But if the flight attendant in any way indicated that you need to move, El Al will compensate you with $18,000. That's the verdict we won. Since the verdict last March, we have monitored this situation in El Al, and we found many videos where this flight attendant is saying to the ultra-Orthodox guy, you leave the plane, you will forfeit your ticket, you're going to get your suitcase in a week. Sir, I suggest you sit down. And guess what? Once El Al put an end to it, the nonsense ended. However, we are now suing EasyJet. Apparently they didn't get the memo. We're suing them for $18,000, and we're now haggling over the money. We're asking for $25,000. We'll get to $18,000 in the end. So I'm just saying, after we won these cases, ultra-Orthodox women started calling us. And let me tell you, the rabbis are right to be nervous about what's happening to ultra-Orthodox women. They're on the march. They're changing ultra-Orthodoxy. The obsession with modesty that the rabbis are now obsessed with women's voices, women's bodies, it's because they want to curtail that movement of Orthodox women who are demanding, I know it's a hard word to say for ultra-Orthodox, but they're demanding equality on many factors. I was asked about the vaccination among the ultra-Orthodox. First, it's tragic, but among the dead in Israel and among the sick in Israel, the ultra-Orthodox are way above and beyond their proportion in the population. And clearly they are not adhering to the rules of social distancing, and they are paying a very high price for this. So nobody in Israel is required to vaccinate themselves. It's not a requirement, but they are going in very large numbers to be vaccinated. I want to say just something that is important, that the corona is going to change in Israel. Until the corona, there was certainly a shift in Israel towards the irrational. People, for example, since we've had 4 elections in 2 years, on the first election 2 years ago, the Shas party gave people an amulet. You know, I should have prepared and showed you. Amulet was a silver card written by Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, who is dead already 10 years, okay? And this will protect you from the corona. Shas party did not do it again. They did not put out amulets again. Altogether, the industry of amulets is being curtailed in Israel. It is clear, even to the ultra-Orthodox, that the entity that will save us from corona is going to be our elaborate health system, science, people who work in hospitals. That's the rational part is going to save us. I can't tell you how dramatic this is going to be, because the ultra-Orthodox zealotry thrives on the irrational. And here is testimony that this pandemic is not being dealt with by prayer. In fact, tzaddikim, holy people, are dying all the time. People who prayed a lot. So I think that Corona is going to help us shift more towards the rational, which is a good thing, because you know that irrational thinking brings us to do irrational things. What are we doing about Ethiopians, and what are we doing about Palestinians? Our mandate is only Palestinians living inside Israel. I would have you know that 21% of Israelis are Arab. Many of them, most of them are a Muslim, some of them are a Christian, and some are Druze and other factions inside Islam. 21% of Israelis are Arab. Every fourth Israeli is an Arab. This is important for you to know. So we are dealing with the Arab citizens inside Israel. This is another good thing that the Corona has brought to us. Israelis are now aware that Arabs save our lives in enormous numbers every day. In fact, Arabs save more Jews in a given day than Israeli Arabs participated in terrorism since the inception of the state. Many of our, we just published a study that I can send you. It's called Heroes of Health, and it looks at the proportion of doctors who are Arab, nurses who are Arabs, pharmacologists who are Arabs, lab technicians who are Arabs. And now that Israelis are depending on our health system, they're also noticing that it is relatively free of racism. If you go to an Israeli emergency room and you state that you don't want an Arab to touch you, you'll be shown the door very quickly. They're a team. They are a team. And if I can digress for a minute, after we published Heroes of Health, I sent a copy to the Ministry of Labor of Israel, knowing that this will be stashed in some closet, never seen again. But surprisingly, I got a note from them, and they're saying, you know, in their benevolence, why don't you write us a voluntary code for companies to adopt what you learned from the health system so that Israel will be more free of racism. I wrote back and I said, I don't write voluntary codes unless I'm getting paid for it. I didn't want to write a voluntary code and that would go into a black hole in some ministry. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am pretty shocked to tell you that we're now working with the Ministry of Labor. We have a big grant to write a voluntary code, implementing what we learned, extrapolating from what we learned from the health system to make Israel less racist. And to my shock and amazement, I found some nice people in government. You remember, I'm used to talking to government through the Supreme Court. I'm always suing them. I've never got to actually hang out and, you know, talk to them. Well, there's some nice people there. And we are writing a voluntary code that the government of Israel will adopt, and only companies that actually adopt it will have a precedent in business with the government, and the government is one of the biggest providers of business in Israel. Quite surprising. I was asked what we do for Ethiopians. We have a center for helping new immigrants, the Legal Aid Center for New Immigrants. We have 6,000 people who call us every year. And of course, we deal with individual cases of Ethiopians who are denied rights because their Judaism or the Judaism of their relatives is being questioned. Someone wrote me that they're wearing my talit. Who is it? Good for you that you're wearing a talit of Women of the Wall. And I think I got all did I relate to everything?
I see.
Why don't we have a term limit for a prime minister? 3 of the parties that are running in this next election have this on their platform, that they will make a term limit for a prime minister. For sure, we need that.
I also have a question about an aguna, a chained woman who's unable to get a get. Do you work with agunot at all? And there was another question about what's the role of American rabbis?
Okay, about the agunot, look, we don't push ourselves where there are organizations that are specializing in that. And in fact, there are 2 organizations in Israel that deal with agunot. That's what they do. Yad Laisha, Merkaz Tzedek, and 3 organizations, and Mavoy Satum. And we are fighting another part of the aguna issue. We are fighting for freedom of choice in marriage and divorce in Israel. You realize that if we had civil marriage in Israel, they can't be an aguna if there was a civil marriage, or reform marriage and divorce, or conservative marriage and divorce. All this doesn't exist. So when you get divorced in Israel, you must go to the Rabbanut, and it is a traumatic experience, particularly to women. It's traumatic, but we won't go into it. If you want to learn about it, see a movie. There's a movie called Get, which shows this problem. It will make you cry. American rabbis are our best allies. They explain to their congregations how they can love Israel and kick ass in Israel at the very same time. There's a wonderful American idiom called, you got to learn to walk and chew gum at the same time. It describes what I want. If someone says, look, Israel is mistreating me to such an extent and trampling on the values that I cherish most, I want to give Israel a divorce. I can understand the sentiment, but it is counterproductive. I say to you, if you are impressed with the fact that Israel is trampling on your values, you gotta schrei Gewalt. That's what Jews do. You gotta connect with Israelis who really believe the same as you do, and let us change it. We can change it. We've changed many things in Israel. For example, we already talked about one. The fact that your rabbis can convert people, and these people will come to Israel and be recognized in Israel as legitimate olim, immigrants to Israel, it's because we fought for this. You realize that every Orthodox party in Israel, in its platform, swears that they will change the law of return so that only Orthodox conversions will count all over the world. Why have they not succeeded? Because American rabbis jump out of their skin if they'll be told that they cannot convert in a way that's recognized in Israel. I'd like you to broaden the menu and jump out of your skin over some other things. For example, the fact that women cannot read Torah at the wall. Just as a side note, I will mention that I'm suing the Rabbi of the Wall. I filed on Thursday. I'm suing him for 68,000 shekel because on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, 2 months ago, I came to the wall. The weather here is so warm that I was wearing just this shirt, a shirt with buttons, okay? My bag was checked 3 times. I was asked to go through the magnetometer 3 times. Physically, they opened the bag and checked inside my lipstick 3 times. And then they said, please move to the side. We need to do a physical check on your body. I said, look at me. It's a shirt. I'm wearing nothing else. Stop it. I felt it was to humiliate me and stop me from going to the wall. And I went home and wrote this, and I'm suing him for 68,000 shekel in damages for denying me the right to pray on Rosh Chodesh Kislev at the wall. Since this looks like a nice petition, Tammy Gottlieb of the conservative movement has joined me. She's also suing for 68,000 shekel because she was checked on Rosh Chodesh Tevet. So we are both suing the Rabbi of the Wall. We want to have him cut out this habit. And I must tell you that I think that on this Rosh Chodesh Shvat, I heard they will not be checking the women of the wall. The reason they're doing a physical check for women of the wall is because they're looking for a Torah scroll. They are afraid that we're carrying a Torah scroll on our person. For those of you who have been under a rock, maybe you don't know, but it is illegal for women to read Torah at the Western Wall. Only men are allowed to read from the Torah. There are 200 Torah scrolls there for public use, and it's only for men. So this is so crazy. The Jewish state, the holiest site of the Jewish people, and only men are allowed to read Torah. It's outrageous. So if you ask me, Rabbi, what is my wish for the next year? I want to meet a young 12-year-old girl who will see me there at her bat mitzvah while she's leading the congregation and reading Torah, and she'll say to me, "Oh, lady, it's always been like that." That's what I want. I want to end with the prayer for Israel that I wrote that I think may summarize what I have to say. And here it is. Eli, you know, Eli means my God. In this sacred moment, give us hope for Israel and its future. Renew our wonder at the miracle of the Jewish state. In the name of the pioneers who made the deserts bloom, give us the tools to cultivate diversity of Jewish expression in Israel. In the name of the fallen soldiers, give us courage to stand up to the words and ways of zealots, those of our own midst and those among our neighbors. In the name of the Israeli inventors who have amazed the world in their innovations, help us apply the same ingenuity to finding a path to peace. In the name of all these women and men, grant us the strength to conquer doubt and despair in Israel, replacing doubt with action, replacing despair with hope, and let us say, Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you so much, Anat. If anyone has patience to stand for one more minute, I want you to reach out your arms so you're touching the person in the box next to you. Put it on gallery view. We have to end with a song. We are reaching across the ocean. We are reaching across so many lines. We are stronger together.
Wait, I need to take a picture. Hold on. I need to. This is so amazing. I've never seen this before.
Okay, we're touching each other. We're powerful. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. And the holiest thing you can do is use this moment to keep getting informed. The IRAC's newsletter is in the chat, but we'll send it in upcoming email blasts. Just be informed and keep in this sacred conversation and congregation. Thank you, Anat.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Judy.